Welcome to a special episode of Ganesh Chaturthi at the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Corner Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is the Digital Defender, Shreya Suri on tech, law, fintech, and privacy. Partner at CMS INDUSLAW and a pioneering force in India's TMT and fintech legal landscape. From data governance frameworks and cybersecurity compliance to decoding the OTT revolution and regulatory complexities, Shreya has built a career at the intersection of law, tech, and transformation. Her journey from courtroom disputes to policy level consulting reflects a sharp intellect grounded in empathy, adaptability, and business foresight. Join us as we unravel a story of carving a niche in a field that's evolving by the minute, and we also explore Shreya as a person. So, welcome, Shreya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amir.
Yeah,
Happy to be here and definitely excited to have this conversation. I've seen your format and I like the fact that you spend time getting to know the guests, getting to know their background, and it's generally very different from any other interview process. So happy to be here.
wow. Okay, I'm just teasing you. Okay, we had given you the opportunity for in person, but couldn't manage. But it's still open. We'll have some other conversation in person whenever you're in Mumbai for a short time. Also, we'll plan out. So because
Love that.
you're coming for a Ganesh Chaturthi episode, so I want to give this gift to you because I'm very close to Ganpati Bappa.
Thank
So
you.
yeah. So there will be three rounds, Shreya. First round will be professional, personal, and a surprise rapid fire round where you will be in the hot seat and you have to do witty, fun, quick. And here's your gift, Legal AI 101,
Oh,
which will
how's
autograph and to you.
Thank you.
So, friend, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Corner, legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal startups, SMEs, world class technology, software licensing, and tech training solutions. So, my first question for you, Shreya, you have built deep expertise across technology, media, and regulatory space. What first drew you to TMT law, and how has experience been?
Okay, not the easiest and most straightforward answer to this question, but I would say that in my early years of my career, I was working with a lot of clients in the technology space. I was doing all kinds of things. So uh, before I joined CMS INDUSLAW, and I will complete 10 years at the end of the month. But before I joined here, I was um, doing investigations, part of my disputes practice. But once I joined, I was doing a lot of corporate work, including fundraisers, M&A activities, and incidentally, a lot of advisory work. So I was advising on product structures, I was advising on helping businesses enter India, navigate the regulatory framework, and most of the expertise was focused on the tech space because it was booming at the time. And
Mhm.
very naturally, there was a conscious decision taken at the firm level to have a separate advisory practice, and we have effectively organically built out this practice at the firm, where the focus has been, because there are many teams that do transactions, they do investment deals, they do M&A deals. There are other practice areas as well. But because this sector was emerging, more legislation was planned by the government. And this went a little beyond the traditional TMT, which included your telecom operators like an Airtel, Vodafone, or your cable TV network. So this was beyond that. This was an emerging space which the ministries were also conscious of, and I think it kind of just all tied in together, and organically I fell into this practice and have been doing it ever since, haven't looked back.
Wow, beautiful. So let's dive deep in conversation and thank you to leading me to my next one. You have been with CMS Indus Law for over a decade. What does long-term growth and trust look like in law firm setting?
Okay. Probably a little different for everyone else. It depends on their journeys. For me, this was my third role at a law firm. Um, and when I joined, I was fortunate to receive a lot of good mentorship, and I was fortunate to receive, of course, I also put in a lot of hard work and effort. And I felt that that was recognized, and I felt that I had great mentors at the senior partner level, the founder level, who kind of pushed to, pushed me to challenge myself and my own boundaries, and that kind of kept me engaged. I like coming up with solutions. I was, encouraged to do things, and it wasn't just a cookie cutter, job, because every client we were dealing with had different business structures, different models, which were not really tested as far as the market was concerned. So doing new work every day, doing uh, work with people at a senior level, with founders, in fact. So the engagement was very, very encouraging, and there were no bad ideas, and everyone was encouraged to ideate. So I felt that the environment was nurturing in that sense, and that is the reason I have stuck around.
Wow. Okay. So, Shreya, in the fast-moving fintech space, what's your take on the balance between innovation and regulation?
Okay, this is a good one because RBI has, of course, become more conscious, and they've been cracking down on fintechs all across the board, be it as far as NBFCs are concerned, banking financial institutions are concerned, or payment service providers are concerned. There are a lot of payment and transaction frauds, loan frauds that I believe the general audience will be aware of, that have been going on in the country. And it is becoming harder and harder to track people. There's so many phishing scams. Um, so I do understand why the RBI feels that, they have to take a strict and a strong view on this. And in doing so, I don't believe that the RBI is fully curtailing innovation as such, but they are choosing who to give licenses to. And yes, there have been gaps in regulation, and a lot of fintechs historically kind of um, build their business models on the edge of regulation, which was great for the sector, great for growth, great for putting India on the map. I mean, that was the time we came up with so many models, including your UPI, including your tokenization, including your digital lending framework. So the sector was really doing well. There was a lot of foreign investment being attracted, but unfortunately, because so many players percolated the market, not everyone was able to meet the, I would say, responsible threshold approach as far as doing business is concerned. And that is when I believe RBI decided to step in. But having said that, I think they are very receptive to deploying technology. They have recently taken out an AI governance framework for the sector as well, which proposes how AI can be adopted and integrated as part of different stakeholder businesses in the sector. So I don't believe they are turning a blind eye. They also have regulatory sandboxes. So if you have a great model, you can apply for a sandbox. You can apply to the sandbox and test it out without having any kind of licensing requirement, with relaxed compliance requirements, and see if the model takes. So I don't think it is, uh, they are trying every day to achieve that balance. And I know they may not have done it in the first instance, or they may not even have done it till date, but they do seem to be trying. And I think that's important because it's also important to protect people.
Wow. Okay, so my next question, another interesting one. With data protection being a hot topic globally, how do you approach building resilient compliance frameworks for Indian and cross-border clients?
Okay. This is a complicated one because it varies, as any lawyer would say. When it comes to data protection, I have found that, overseas businesses generally are more culturally better aware of what data privacy is, of what data protection is, perhaps because of GDPR. So, especially businesses having a footprint in EU are familiar with the fact that there is a law that demands attention, there is a law that demands compliance, there are consequences to violation. So, those kind of businesses generally seem to be taking a more proactive step. But as far as Indian businesses are concerned, I have noticed this trend change over the last 6 to 7 months since the draft rules for this sector came in, where businesses are now starting to be more conscious. They are getting started on their implementation journeys or at least asking questions. So, when it comes to implementation itself, one has to think through for any business, be it in India, be it outside India, is what are the different touch points of data collection for me? Um, how I mean, firstly, am I collecting this data directly? Am I collecting it through someone else? Do I have any outsourced service providers that are doing this data collection for me? And once I identify whatever touch points I have for collection of any kind of personal data, then I have to see, do I need all the information that I'm getting? Do I need to uh, restrict what I'm collecting, and why do I even need it? I mean, you have to align it with the purposes for which the personal data is being collected. So, for example, if I have, let's say, any employee being onboarded, and of course, employees are common to every company. So, every company will be collecting personal data of employees, and that's why this is the example I'm taking. But when I collect employee data, um, there is a lot of information sometimes that one ends up collecting as a business. You could have regular health checkups. You could be collecting biometric information when they are checking in or logging in for the day. When you are conducting health checkups for the employees, is it even necessary for businesses to get access to that information, or is it just a benefit you're providing to the employee? So, all these factors are relevant for deciding why you need certain information and why you don't. So, if there is a nexus that can be built out, strong business rationale, that is what you need to start focusing on. Effectively, what you're collecting, why you're collecting it, do you need all that information? The next thing you need to focus on as a business is where all that data is going from your company. Are you sending it across to any third parties? For example, payroll management firms, tax consultants could also be processing this data. So, if that be the case, you would need to ensure that any data being shared outside is being done on the basis of a valid and binding contract, that these third parties are bound by uh, your legal obligations and requirements as well. Because if at all there is any breach or leak of information at these third parties end, you need to be able to hold them accountable, because under the law it is the personal data that you have collected, so you as a business are completely and wholly accountable and liable. And this is where organizations generally need to start. Once they have done this basic check, they can get into more specifics like data lifecycle management, how you are seeking consent, does something need consent or not need consent, where are you documenting all your rationales, or how are you documenting your policies when it comes to internal data handling? Are your employees trained enough? Because even if one employee makes a mistake, the whole organization is liable. The Fines are very, very significant, which I think is no big secret anymore. Everyone is well aware of that. And what are the kind of grievance redressal tools you are deploying as an organization internally? So if you are not able to resolve any issue, let's say someone, be it an employee, a customer, if they reach out to you with a concern on your data processing practices, if you're not able to address it internally, they can take it to court. But the benefit of this law is they are bound to first come to you. So having the right people in that role is also very important. I could go on. This is just a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
snapshot
My
and a
next question is
starting
related to that
point.
only.
Yeah,
So leave something for the next question, because you recently you conducted a webinar, a part of, with
yeah.
Indo-French Chamber of Commerce on navigating the implementation of DPDP Act. What are the key elements for any CISO, DPO to focus for
Right.
implementation in his or her organization?
Got it. So I do have some additional points here, believe it or not. See, there is a common misconception in the market, and this is something I've seen based on, discussions I've been on, or sometimes questions come to you, or I have seen other panelists talk about it. But there is a common misconception that data protection is only about cybersecurity. That is not the case. I think the first step is recognizing that. And because you mentioned CISO here, that's also where I'm coming from, because in the organization, people are still confused about whose responsibility is it. Is it the
Hmm.
security team's responsibility? Is it the legal team's responsibility? Is there someone else who needs to be responsible? So that is the first point, to understand that this law is not only about security practices, it is also about privacy as a concept. It is also about interpreting whatever legal principles have been set out in the law.
Hmm.
And there is a lot more to applying, technology infrastructure than just basically there is a lot more than applying technology infrastructure. You have to marry it with the way you interpret the law and the use cases for your particular organization. So first and foremost, the first exercise every business should conduct is carry out a gap assessment or a general assessment of what information you're collecting, why you're collecting it, and where do your security practices stand as of today. So this should be a parallel exercise, ideally. Once you have identified, okay, where do I lack in the requirements to comply with the law as is needed as of today? And this is also true for businesses compliant with GDPR. People must remember that it is, if you are compliant with GDPR, does not mean you're automatically compliant with the DPDP Act. There are very, very critical and important differences under the Act. GDPR allows you wider grounds of processing without consent. Indian law is restrictive. So, whatever grounds you may have been using under GDPR may not fully hold water as far as the Indian context is concerned. So, you go ahead, you identify those gaps, then you start putting in place, uh, once you know where the gap lies, you have to figure out how to practically implement it. It could be in the form of updating policies, it could be in the form of updating your template agreements, it could be in the form of updating your user interface, it could be in the form of updating your um, onboarding processes, whether even if it's for vendors, for your employees. So it could entail a lot of things, and you can only identify what all has to change once you carry out an assessment of what your current privacy health is of the organization. And every organization should also ideally split up responsibilities vertical wise. Once you know what processes have to be implemented, it's a one time exercise, right? Then you identify privacy champions across different departments, have them train themselves on what is required, let them pass along that information across the employee chain, so that Everyone generally knows how to handle things, and if there is an SOP, they have to follow it. Any deviation must be checked. So everyone in the organization should know all these things. That's what's important, and that's how businesses can tackle the problem.
So let's go next question. What impact do you see for cybersecurity in the telecom sector in the backdrop of the upcoming data protection legislation?
Okay. So, generally speaking, the data protection law, the new DPDP Act, covers all sectors, but we have seen that different sectoral regulators, uh, much like the DOT, have also brought in their own respective cybersecurity regulations. So, one reason for doing this is because if the audience here has read what the proposed rules state with respect to cybersecurity requirements, they are very limited and very light touch. They are effectively indicative guidance, but because this sector is sensitive, it involves um, a lot of communication flows. There is a separate cybersecurity uh, direction which has been brought in to guide the telecom service providers or any outsourced service providers of theirs to comply with certain cybersecurity requirements and to apprise not just the data protection board as and when it is set up, but also the sectoral regulator of any implications and impact. One thing under debate though is the scope of these directions, and whether uh, security is a pretext to carry out other activities, and there are many articles on this in the market, including whether this is allowing a moat to carry out surveillance activities, and that is a heavily debated topic. Um, so I think whenever the sectoral regulator brings this in, apart from understanding and recognizing that, okay, they have recommended uh, security technology measures, which every service provider has to adapt to, there is also a dual layer of reporting. So if anything beyond this is being contemplated, it has to be in line with public policy. It cannot be a situation which is being over optimized. It cannot be a situation which is creating a gap in um, accountability for the sectoral regulator, and it cannot be a situation which without any checks and balances. So
Wow,
that is something that has to be taken into account.
thank you. So, Shreya, when advising tech platforms or B2C app providers, what's one underestimated legal risk you often see?
Okay. Uh, this is more prevalent now than ever, but I believe everyone would have, would be familiar with blocking orders that are passed time and again. Many apps from time to time get blocked. Um, it is, one big reason for that, of course, is that some of them may generally be non-compliant. But one other reason is also the presentation of what your application platform looks like. So when app developers are putting together their platform, I know there is a look and feel to it. I know there's a user experience associated with business requirements, with product requirements. But it is not a bad idea to get your user experience, user journey, in fact, checked from the perspective of what the legal requirement is. Because nowadays, the first thing that any regulator does is they open your app. And if on the face of it they find something uh, problematic, they're going to send you a notice. And if you are a listed company, that creates even larger problems for you because you have to disclose every notice you get, and then that has an impact on your share price as well. So mm, often I would say not, slowly businesses are thinking about this more, but definitely an undervalued, facet of deployment of any product in the market.
Wow. So, Shreya, what's been the most creatively challenging mandate you have handled in recent years?
I honestly don't know fully how to answer this because there is some creative thinking as far as the sector generally is concerned. Um, See, more so it happens in a situation where the law is not there, or the law is gray, or there are other laws which could potentially apply, but there is no specific law addressing this space. So, for example, cryptocurrency, right? There is no specific law other than the fact that there are tax implications and there is a requirement to register with the Financial Information Unit. So, the FIUIND. But having said that, I mean, when it comes to creative thinking, uh, very difficult to pinpoint one, but I will say that the sector has been emerging. Like one example I'll give you, when we look at the payment aggregator guidelines or the digital lending guidelines, there was a time when there were drafts circulated for public consultation, but they were not yet implemented. And or rather they were not finalized in the form of directions or guidelines, and businesses were concerned about it and they were not aware of how they should structure these practices or how they should structure their business models. Will there be an impact when the law comes? So in that period, we did advise a lot of clients on how to structure their businesses. And happy to say that when the final law came in, many of them, rather pretty much none of them were impacted significantly because they were already compliant. And not everything was in the draft which came out. Um, there was a fair bit of insulation, even in terms of forward thinking, even in terms of, I mean, when the PA guidelines, that is the payment aggregator guidelines, came out, there were gaps even within the final guidelines, and they had to be clarified pretty much a year later, again by the RBI. So, even in that duration, whatever advice we gave was pretty much sound. So, this is something you have to end up doing. It is a professional hazard in this particular sector because you never know when things are going to change. I mean, even
Mm.
just last week, the gaming industry took a big hit. Uh,
Yes.
so, yeah, so helping businesses pivot is all we are here for.
Yeah.
And this sector, especially, there is a lot of interest from many stakeholders on the government side
Mm.
to understand it better, to regulate it. So every day our clients are, you know, always aware of something or the other which has been initiated or started or in the works.
Wow. Good. So let's go to next question. Having worked on both litigation and advisory roles, how did that duality shape your current leadership style?
Okay. Um, Definitely it gives you more foresight, it gives you more perspective because you are able to see problems beyond what is just in front of you. So having that background did help me understand how something is going to be interpreted in court, for example, or if something goes to challenge. So when you have that foresight, you sort of, you know, put in guardrails and mitigation measures from an overarching perspective and not just from what the law before you requires. There are also sometimes instances which you don't think of, but like for example, I did a lot of investigations work, so regulatory investigations work, SEBI, CCI back in the day. And now, when we look at the new data protection law, there are also, and this you have to read between the lines, but there is something contemplated called data breach inquiries. And
Mm.
procedure is practically going to be the same. So bringing in that, I would say, so no experience is a bad experience or goes to waste for any lawyer out there, who's doing litigation right now, wants to transition to corporate later in the day. It is not something which is not going to help you. It is definitely going to be useful for you in the larger scheme of things. You may not see it immediately, but once you see it, you will be so grateful. Uh, and generally speaking, fields are getting more and more specialized right now. So not every lawyer, especially in larger law firms, has the benefit of going through the ordeal of litigation. But I do feel that everyone should, at least for a couple of years, learn more about it and, understand what the law is really about. Aside
Wow.
from, of course, we do a lot of advisory work, but disputes is also, important for your growth as a lawyer. I would say it's not so, maybe not so important for your growth in your career, but as a lawyer, you should be aware.
Wow. So, Shreya, how do you mentor your junior lawyers who want to thrive in sectors as demanding as TMT and fintech?
Okay, yeah, good one and very relevant for anyone wanting to join this space. You cannot go in blind. The market is too evolved right now to go in blind and to expect to learn everything once you get to the law firm. There are some things you will learn naturally, but you need to be aware what are the regulations that generally apply in this sector. Um, so if you are looking at a fintech practice, you can't not know about prepaid payment instruments, about payment aggregation, about digital lending. These are three very, very important areas that any law firm practice is going to be focusing on. So, yes, maybe your interpretation may not be correct, and that's okay. You are just, learning at this stage, but ignorance is not the answer. So, definitely update yourself in terms of what's going on. Tomorrow, for example, um, you can't come in blind to the gaming sector or practice knowing that this law has not been passed. You can't you can't expect to be hired for a data protection law when you don't know the fact that there is a law in place, there are draft rules in place.
Yes.
So just at least being aware of what are the legislations that govern your area of interest, even if, see, interpretation is something you will learn on the job, your seniors will help you out with it, but you have to know the basics and you have to train yourselves at least to read the legislation before you're coming in. I mean, you read your CPC, you read your constitution before you take your law exams. So you should just treat it simply the same way.
Wow, beautiful. Now AI is everywhere, and CMS INDUSLAW has also taken initiatives like Jurisphere, then Legit Quest. So, how's AI impacting the TMT law space?
Okay, I would say that I don't think our work is impacted as such in terms of, us being needed. So that is definitely not impacted. But yes, there are tools available nowadays to help law firms. So very common tool is a proofreading tool. So AI is used for that. Very useful, very helpful. There is also an AI tool for database management, which is also very useful. There's also a redlining tool, which you would know about. That is also
Litera
very
Compare.
useful. Yes.
How's
Uh,
your experience using Litera Compare?
yeah, I had a good experience. It was, yeah, definitely very handy. And of course, yes, one more thing every lawyer should know is how to format a document and how to uh, carry out a deadline, and proofreading, very, very important. So
Very
that
true.
is one more thing, regardless of which practice you're going into, please, please,
Mm.
please familiarize yourselves with these things because clearly AI can replace that. So,
So you have to
yeah,
one step ahead. You have to be every time.
yes, yes. And I think it will just provide us more tools to aid what we do. At this point in time, at least, I don't see a situation where uh, AI takes over legal advice, because it is, at least the sector I operate in is very nuanced. It involves a lot of interpretation, assessment of market practice, assessment of policy intent. There are a lot of conversations which are not always documented. So, and there's a lot of analytical thinking that goes behind just how to structure things or put things together. So, it's not a cookie cutter exercise for every client. And simply for that reason, um, I don't see AI taking over, so to speak. But definitely, I think people will start relying on AI tools in-house a little more, to have faster or more accurate turnaround times when it comes to proofing, for example.
Wow. So my last question for Professor Johnny Round. You regularly contribute to newspapers like the Times of India, ET, and you're also invited to speak across several panel discussions, webinars, events. Is this an important skill relevant for the evolving legal industry? First part. Second part. What steps can be taken to project oneself as a thought leader like yourself?
Okay, so I don't know how to fully answer the second one, but I will answer the first one. Yes, it is growing important. I mean, it is growing importance to have uh, some sort of a voice to be recognized, because the industry is fairly small. And as you grow more senior, you I think for me, it's a really natural outcome. We get approached time and again, because sometimes you're just out there, you're talking to clients, you're talking to people, you're talking to ministries on and off. So, as a natural outcome, you end up doing these things. But having said that, it is still important to take these initiatives to see how you can engage more, because uh, digital, I mean, the age of the internet is the future. We are here, and to amplify whatever you're doing, your voice, i- the internet is a big tool to enable that. So it is growingly important to kind of focus on that. On Sorry, your second question was what again?
You will reap. Wow. What steps can be taken to project oneself as a thought leader? You have
Yes.
answered
I think
everything.
I've summarized that pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah, very
So,
smart.
yeah.
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 Okay. So this is what Coffee Con is doing, giving opportunity to all the speakers out there to be a voice for their subjects and different topics. And uh, you go into what do you say, memory down the lane, past, present, and future. So future is coming up. So let's go to the next round and understand Shreya as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
Okay, so I was born and brought up in Delhi primarily. There were a couple of years I was living out of the country because of my father's work. But I did pretty much all my schooling in Delhi. I have, of course, my parents, and I have a younger sister. Uh, I am also married now, recently. I mean, fairly recently, still hasn't sunk in. But but yeah, that's basically, I mean, my background of Delhi. After that, for 5 years, I studied in symbiosis in Pune, and that's where I went to law school. And effectively, yeah, since I left, after I left, I moved back to Delhi, and I've been working ever since. Literally, I took only a week's gap, and I've just been at it.
Wow. Okay. So let's go to your days at Symbiosis. What are your memories, experiences from there?
Okay. Definitely, of course, we did go to college, so that's one, but made some very, very good friends. In terms of the people attending, there were people from all over the country, and some, even from outside the country, who were part of our batch. So it was practically the first time we got to interact with people of, so many diverse cultures and from so many different states. So it was a very enriching experience in that sense. And yeah, I made some very, very good friendships. Um, also had some friends. Um, we started living together and then we became friends. So those are my not all of them were doing law, but we
Hmm.
did, forge very, very strong bonds and friendships. So still in
Wow.
touch, still meet up whenever we can. Happy times,
Wow.
good, fond
Wow.
memories. Yeah.
So if your friend will describe you outside the boardroom, your friend made over the years, so what were the three words comes to your mind?
Always busy. No, there was a time that I think after many years, I was free on a Sunday and I called, like just five, six people to meet for lunch. And they dropped everything to come and see that Shreya is free on a Sunday. Is this really true? So, uh, no, but I definitely, I don't know about words, but I, I am, I would say, uh, someone who feels responsible and accountable for the work that I do. So I do believe I have good work ethic, but
Wow.
I also enjoy my live music. So definitely, I do try and travel for concerts when I can, even outside the
Hmm.
country, if possible. And I enjoy spending time with my friends and family.
Wow. So what's a book sorry, what's a comfort movie, book, or show you can go back to often and often?
Okay, definitely, I think in terms of show, Modern Family, very easy to watch. And it's something that, you don't really need context for. It's just universally funny. So I do enjoy more relaxing, light humor series. When it comes to a book, honestly, I don't have one, but there was this book I read back in school. It was a trilogy called the Bartimaeus Trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. Very gripping, very funny, very witty, very well written. So that is something, whenever I feel like I want to be young again, I go back and read it.
Wow.
And yeah.
So uh, these two questions are reflective and googly ones. Uh, what are your plans for 2020 or remaining months are there, personally and professionally?
Okay. Um, there is a lot of personal and work travel planned and laid out. So it is going to be a busy rest of the year, that I can say. And I think usually this always happens come September. Uh, there are festivals, of course, two big ones. One is Ganesh Chaturthi. Uh, and since this is a special episode, so wishing everyone in the audience a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi as well, and Ganpati Bappa Moria. And then there is Durga Puja. So I'm half Bengali. I do celebrate that on and off, but this time I will be traveling, so not doing that. Um,
Mhm.
and of course, there is Diwali. So, amid the festival, amid the work travel, very little time left, to be honest, for myself. But yeah, I think I will try and find pockets within all of these to spend some time with family.
Wow. So you have done the wishing part also, and so I'll go to the last one. Describe Shreya in one line. It's a googly.
Oh, I don't know how to. Um, if I had to, maybe persevering.
Wow.
If
Beautiful. So let's put you in the hot seat, the rapid fire round. Your go-to
Oh,
comfort food.
okay. Sorry, please. I'm ready now.
Huh?
Ready now. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Your go-to comfort food.
Okay, there is this Bengali thing called Deem Aloo Bhate.
Wow.
It is basically mashed potato, mashed boiled egg, and rice. Very sad, but love it. Whenever I'm unwell, that's what I go for.
Beautiful. Your favorite color.
Black.
Your dream travel place.
Travel, please. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I have already traveled a fair bit, so this one's a little difficult to answer.
Okay, it's fine. A word you overuse in client calls.
I wouldn't know. Otherwise, I would stop using it.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Uh, your favorite Bengali sweet dish.
Uh, Kheer Kodam.
Wow. One international city you would love to practice in.
International city I would love to practice in. Hmm. Maybe London.
Beautiful. Tea or coffee to recharge.
Tea. I know this is coffee conversation, so you can edit that if you want, but I can only have coffee before 12.
Oh, time preference. Okay, you did well. And here's your book, which please send to you
Thank
as your
you.
gift for Ganesh Chaturthi.
Thank
So,
you.
so from decoding regulatory mazes to pioneering frameworks in fintech and privacy, Shreya has shown us that law and technology aren't at odds. They're evolving together in this special episode of Ganesh Chaturthi. Her clarity, curiosity, and commitment to mentoring the next generation of lawyers reflect a deeper truth. The most impactful professionals don't just master the domain, they humanize it. To all our viewers, if you're a young lawyer, tech enthusiast, or policy work, this episode wasn't just a conversation, it was a crash course in future readiness. Shreya, thank you for inspiring us to think smarter, lead better, and adapt faster. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep sipping coffee, tea with conversation that matter. So thank you, Shreya, for this wonderful conversations.
Thank you, Amir. Lovely
Yeah.
being here. Thank you.